Neighbor to Neighbor Awards Luncheon. Jim Hawk is on his way. I'm certainly not Jim. Jim is just finishing a session. So we want to invite everyone to please be seated. This serving staff here from Music City Center has done an awesome job. Thank you all very much. We invite everyone to be seated, and we will start with lunch. Jim should be with us momentarily. Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and get started with our program portion. Regrettably, we have been informed that Mayor Cooper will not be here today. And rightfully so, he is going to the funerals of the victims of the shooting today, and just won't be able to make it down here. The good news is our vice mayor is here, so we'll be able to hear a little bit from him as well. I am really excited. And Lacey was the first person to push me onto this. When she first came in here, she said, Jim, you've got to read this one-page story about the history of Metro government that this woman named Dr. Carol Busey wrote. And she said, I understand now a lot more about Metro history. And now that we're celebrating the 60th anniversary today, we have a very special guest. And I am going to share this because I think it's important. Dr. Carol Busey is a professor of history at Volunteer State Community College. She has a PhD in history, and in 2011, Carol was appointed Davidson County Historian by Mayor Carl Dean. That's a little bit of history itself. Carol is the author of Tennessee Through Time, the Early Years, and Tennessee Through Time, the Later Years. There may be another series, perhaps. She's also the author of History Carved in Stone, the Nashville City Cemetery, Women Helping Women, the YMCA Nashville, Exercising the Franchise, Building the Body Politic, the League of Women Voters, and Public Policy, 1945 to 64, and several scholarly articles and book reviews. She has served as a member of the Board of Directors of the Presbyterian Historical Society in Philadelphia and is Vice President of the Tennessee Historical Society. And I'm very pleased to introduce to you today Dr. Carol Busey.
To be here with you today, and just looking out at this crowd, this is Nashville. We are Nashville. We are a very heterogeneous group of people who have come together to work together and to build our community and make it better. Now, as you know, Nashville has a lot of nicknames. Many people think it's Music City, USA, and if you go down here on Broadway right now, you'll hear some music. It's known as the Wall Street of the South, the powder capital of the world, Rock City, but for all of us, we proudly call it Metro. And so today I'm going to share with you a little bit about how Metro took place and how it was created. It was a bold experiment back in 1963 on this very day, April the 1st, that the first Metropolitan Nashville Davidson County Council, as well as the first mayor of Metro and the first vice mayor, were sworn in at the old convention center, not to be confused with just the old convention center. So, we are here in the new convention center today. And so, this was an idea that really came about after World War II. The war was over. People had gone through the Depression. There was great celebration here, and people had lots of money that they had made during the war. The women had gone to work. The Depression was over. And so you start seeing a great deal of population movement here. People are moving to the suburbs. The GI Bill is providing college education for former veterans who come home. TSU had so many veterans that they had to turn the stage of their gym into a dorm room. It was that crowded at Tennessee State University. And so here we have this population growing. We had a lot of energy in both the city of Nashville and Davidson County. The energy were people who were young, enthusiastic. Some, like you, had been here less than 10 years. Some came here thinking they'd stay a few years and then go back home, but they ended up liking it so much, they stayed. And so as a result of this, and for some reason now, my slides don't want to move. We'll see. There we go. Nashville was really seeing growth, and this young group of people were willing to open their minds to new ideas. And so the first thing that came along was a report that said, you know, something that Nashville and Davidson County could do together would be to create a united government, merging of the city and the council. It would not be the council, the city, and the county. It would not be the county taking over the city. It would not be the city taking over the county. It would be bringing the two things together. And we had new leadership in both the city as well as the council. The county judge, who was the presiding officer of the county court, which had a group of magistrates representing the entire county, was Beverly Briley. He ran on what was called the GI ticket. A lot of the veterans who had come home supported him. And in the mayor's seat was Ben West. He had been active in politics for a long time, and he was elected mayor of the city. And immediately, with new people here and new energy, you see that the city and the county are duplicating many services, and yet there's a lot of overlap. People in the county using the public library system and the park system in the city, and the county providing almost all of the health care for the county. The county hospital, various clinics around town. The county was providing a great many services for the city. So there was this back and forth. And you see, one of the people who gets very interested in doing something such as a merger was Dr. John J. Lentz. He was the head of the county health department. And he said, I and my staff can take over what health services are being offered in the city of Nashville. And so the city council approved it, the county court approved it, and they allowed Dr. Lentz to merge what system the city had with the very large system that Davidson County had. And so here you see the groundbreaking with Ben West on your left and Mayor Riley on your right, with Dr. Lentz holding the wheelbarrow there. So this was his opening to doing something about some of the problems that the city had that the county would help with. One of the biggest problems in Nashville was air pollution down here in the core of the city. We had smoke from coals to it, belching out of steam and basement furnaces. And in the summertime, even when people weren't heating places, there was still so much pollution that George Cate, our first vice mayor of Metro, said he would go home at the end of the day with his suit on. He wore a white shirt and tie, and when he lifted his tie to take it off, there was a strip of white down his shirt, and the rest of his shirt was sooty from the coal dust that was in the air. It was not safe. It was not good for people. And he said, we can do better than this. So with great enthusiasm, the legislature approved this idea that the city and county could appoint a commission, equal representation of the city of Nashville and Davidson County, that would write up a plan for a new form of government, a consolidated government. And so Mayor West appointed 5 members of this charter commission, and Judge Briley appointed 5 members. Carmack Cochran, who you see there at the end of the table with his head down, a highly respected businessman, was the chair of the committee. There were 2 African-American members on the committee, and as you see, one woman there, and she, of course, was, guess what her position was? Secretary. Yes, that's right. So you had diversity, and they really worked together. So they put together this charter. It was published. Both of our newspapers supported this new form of government. The banner, some of you don't remember that once upon a time we had a morning paper, the National Banner, and the afternoon paper was the Banner, and the morning paper was the Nashville Tennessean. Well, the Banner and Tennessean were amazingly in agreement about supporting Metro, something that rarely took place, because Silliman Evans, the publisher of the Tennessean, and the Stallman family, that were the owners and publishers of the Banner, seldom agreed on anything. If the Banner took one position, Silliman Evans was going to take another, and vice versa. They simply were competitive. But it made reading the papers really fun, because you could get the afternoon paper thrown and see what they didn't like about the morning paper. So both supported this. There was not any real opposition to this in the city or the county. Both places, when a referendum was held in 1958, both the city approved it. But when the vote took place, the vote in the county was against consolidation. The city wanted the merger, but the referendum of the people, even though there had been no complaining about it until just a day or 2 before this referendum took place. And so the people on the Charter Commission were really, frankly, just stunned that it didn't pass in the county. But of course, by this time, we have had school integration, which was a very sensitive issue, and that was really what made it fail more than anything else in the county, because Hattie Cotton School had been bombed the year before when the city had integrated the Nashville City Schools, and so there was a great deal of fear in the county about integration of the schools. And so the Tennessean says, we missed this opportunity, but we need to get going and do some other things. Well, Ben West says, this didn't fail. This failed. I supported it, the Banner supported it, but we've got to move forward too. And we do not have an adequate tax base to provide city services any longer. And he said, it's over for consolidation, so I, Ben West, will achieve the same thing by different means. And this is what really started the fight. Ben West decides that he has to annex land in the county into the city limits of Nashville to increase the tax base for the city, because the population is moving to such a degree. And so he initiates this annexation plan, which really starts in one phase by just really annexing some industrial area. Well, there was no opposition to that. Everybody was happy with that until he then started on neighborhoods. And this is what got everybody excited. If your neighborhood was on the border between, on the county line, the city limits line, you were in terror that your neighborhood was going to be annexed. And this really stirred up people living in the county that they were afraid they were going to be annexed into the city. And so many people said, you know, we shouldn't be doing this. And even Ben West wanted a referendum on his annexation plan, at least from the area of people where they were going to be annexed in. But the council did not approve it. Now the Tennessean over there is saying, let's give up the annexation, let's give consolidated government, Metro, another chance. But Ben West's annexation plan really stirred people up. And it really created a lot of anxiety for this politician who wasn't accustomed to having so much personal criticism heaped on his back. So the council, the city council, goes ahead and passes annexation. And then what does Ben West do? It was his plan, but he vetoed it. So, guess what the council did? This doesn't happen much, does it, Mr. Vice Mayor? No, it doesn't happen much. So, nonetheless, he vetoed annexing these suburbs, some of the suburbs anyway. And so the Tennessean and the Banner had cartoons about this, and they were really very aggressive in their support to annexation and the opposition from the Tennessean. Jack Knox, the Banner cartoonist, really had a lot of problems, and he was trying to do what he could. So annexation has taken place, sort of. We still need some money in the city. So what does Mayor West propose next? A tax on every car in the county or counties beyond the county that come into Nashville to work. This is called the green sticker tax. And if annexation didn't scare people enough, this really got them hot. People everywhere were opposed to this. And in the beginning, the city police was at the city limits line, and if you came in without your green sticker on your car, in the beginning, they were actually making you go downtown to be booked to pay the tax. And so that really got people late for work and really created the stir. And you see all these people in the county, they are really, really mad about this, because people were saying it was communism. Now, you know, this is in the middle of the Cold War, and some of you youngsters have no memory of the Cold War, but, you know, we were so afraid that the Russians were coming to take over the United States. And so Ben West is dealing with all this criticism, and yet Ben West does something remarkable. He is the one in 1960, when the sit-ins took place and Dr. Luby's house was bombed over near Fisk University, it was Mayor West who boldly went outside his office in the courthouse and met with those students, and when Diane Nash stuck that microphone to his mouth and asked him, do you think it's right that we are denied service at these lunch counters? And he said, it's wrong. And so the lunch counters began to integrate. A bold step for Ben West, the politician. And so, in fact, we get another charter commission, another chance. It's the same commission members, the two had passed away and two new ones were reported, but we got a new charter commission. And it was my great honor to interview many of these people before they died. It was quite an interesting experience to interview them about their experiences. And what each and every one told me was the second charter was a much more politically astute document than the first one. Now, what do you mean by politically astute? For one thing, the size of the consolidated council. It was 20 or 21 in the first charter, but the second charter that was written had 35 district council people and 5 at-large seats, plus a vice mayor. And so what did that do? That provided representation for all segments of the population of Nashville, which is what we have today with a very, very diverse Metro Council. And so they worked on this, and this time, George Cate, who was not a member of the commission, but was a city activist and had several different political positions, George Cate organized speaking engagements for Cormac Cochran, the chair of the committee. People went out and spoke, and you do see some opposition here. If people want to kill this, they don't want to support it. Ben West says he can't, because he took the vote on the second charter as a vote against him. And so we have a lot of people out speaking for consolidation. And we have the public referendum on June 28, 1962. And this time it passed in the city and it passed in the county. So we have an election in the fall for the new Metropolitan Council with its 40 members and a new mayor of Metropolitan Nashville, Davidson County, which was, in fact, it was County Mayor Beverly Briley. And so there were still banner cartoons criticizing the idea of Metro, opposing it, but it was done by the 29th of June, 1962. And so Metro scored a win. And one group that really organized, as you see here, was a group of women. And you may recognize some of the people in this picture. Molly Todd, who was a political activist here, Guynell Sanders, who worked for Mayor Briley and then was the Register of Elections here in Davidson County. Women got out and gave talks to neighborhood associations, and they pushed, and the referendum took place. So on June 28th, the referendum was over. We are making the plans for an election, and indeed it takes place. And on April the 1st, 60 years ago, Mayor Briley was sworn in as the first mayor. George Cate was sworn in as our first vice mayor, and a council of 40 people worked. Now, when I did these council interviews many years ago in the 90s, people told me who had been on the Charter Commission actually, they said, we thought we would write this document and then in 10 years we would refine it. And he said, we also thought we might be able to reduce the size of the Metropolitan Council. But he and others said, it worked so well, we didn't think it needed to be fixed. And so that is how the council came to be 40 members as it is today. We are indeed lucky to live in a city like Nashville. Look at all of the firsts we have. We think about the music industry, but we have a first-rate public library system here in town, branches in neighborhoods, good access to the public libraries. They are beautiful buildings. The downtown library is second to no urban library in the United States. We have a magnificent parks and greenways and golf course system, all under Metro Parks. They do a fine job of keeping our parks safe and keeping our parks beautiful. We supposedly have the best municipal golf courses in the United States, and we have lots of other things that parks provides us. So we have those things, and then we also have a great music industry here, and I would like to tell people that our music industry is very diversified. You can go to the Schermerhorn and hear classical music. You can go hear jazz. You can go hear hip hop. You can hear country music. It is all here. And no matter what your genre of music, people love to perform, from classical opera singers to country music singers in the Ryman Auditorium, because the acoustics in there are so magnificent. We have a first-rate public television station. We have a first-rate public radio station, and they provide us news and up-to-date information about what's going on here in our county. We are privileged to live here. Enjoy this system that we have. Enjoy our city and spread the word. Thank you very much.
So, Dr. Busey breaks all of the stereotypes of an historian. You were amazing. Thank you for sharing. And now we come to 2023, where there's a new, not effort, it's a reality now, where we're working towards, because of the state legislature, working towards reducing the council. And we're going to have Vice Mayor Schulman come up and give us an update on where that is, because there's a lot of parts, moving parts. I just want to say, in the introduction to Vice Mayor Schulman, I first met him one of my, in the first year that I was working at Neighborhoods Resource Center. A guy named Keith Barnes brought this guy in that I had no idea who he was, and it's like, oh yeah, he wants to get involved, and we wanted, and he agreed at that. I can't remember what it was. We were getting ready for the neighborhood festival, and Vice Mayor Schulman was like, yeah, I'll take care of that. I'll get it going. And did a wonderful job with that. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, he's running for office too. And now look at him today. He is the Vice Mayor of Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County, the President of the Metropolitan Council. And we're very pleased to have you joining us for the whole day and welcome you to give us an update, which, again, not 5 hours.
Well, thank you, Jim, and I promise not to take 5 hours, which is what I was told after I heard the mayor wasn't going to be here. We did find out that the mayor is doing something that is obviously something that he needs to do. And so he was not able to join us. And so I'll add a couple statements before just getting into what's going on with the redistricting plan and the decrease in the size of the council. As the mayor normally does, he invites all the elected officials to stand up. I know we did it this morning. Could I get all the elected officials to stand up so that I can recognize them, because I didn't see them coming in? So, Councilmember Russ Bradford is over here, Councilmember Tom Cash, Councilmember at Large Berkeley Allen is there, Councilmember Angie Henderson is here, Councilmember John Rutherford, Councilmember Bob Nash, Councilmember at Large Zulfan Sawara is here, and Councilmember Sean Parker, and Councilmember Nancy Van Reese is there. Thank you all for being here. Now, if I announced all the candidates, that would take 3 hours, 3 or 4 times. But there's a lot of candidates here as well, and I know you're having a mayoral forum after this as well. So what I will say to start is that this has been a horrible, horrible week for this city, and it's for this community and for this country. I know that you've heard lots of different people talk about it. I guess what I would say is that this city is in mourning. It is depressed. We are grieving, and we may be like that for a while. And we're just going to have to figure out some way to help everyone, including people in here and ourselves, try to figure out how to get through this in some way. And I don't have any of the right answers. I wish I did. But we all have suffered a major loss. And I guess, you know, I've told people that we have to let the covenants go get through this week and maybe next week, and it's going to take them a while. We have to let ourselves get through this. I know there's lots of anger, there's all kinds of different things going on. But when I was thinking about that I was going to get up here, I remember something that has always stayed with me. There was an article in Time magazine. It was written about 10 years after 9/11. And the person who wrote the article said that after 9/11, this country of ours all of a sudden realized that it needed to be a better place. It needed to rise up, and it needed to quit fighting with each other. It needed to come together. It needed to be nicer to each other. It needed to understand what really was important. And the way the story goes is that people did step up. And I remember that. I remember what happened. I remember people were stepping up. People were being nicer. And people were understanding what was important. And the writer of the article said it lasted 6 months before we went back to our old ways of just not being very nice. So what I would encourage Nashville as we're going through this, and I know that there will be lots of meetings and discussions and protests and other things going on, which is fine, that we do step up, that we do become a better place, and that we realize what really is important. And so I would ask for you all to do that, but I would also ask for you to prove that lady who wrote that Time story wrong, and that is that we can be better forever. We don't do it for 6 months and we stop. Okay? We keep going. Because we're Nashville. We can do this. We can be a better place. Now, maybe lots of discussions on this and lots of people who disagree with different parts of it, but we do not want this ever happening again. We have got to stop this. All right, somebody said that I needed to try to bring a little bit of joy to this, which is very difficult. I know that everybody is they're just very down, but I'm going to show you something. That's why I brought my napkin up.
Some of you may have seen this. The only thing I know how to do. I do this better than Big Light Smear. All right.
Does this look like a chicken to you? Anybody? The young kids in the back? Chicken? You sure? Does this look like a chicken to you?
Not yet.
There's always one in every corner. Does this look like a chicken to you? Everybody say yes, I just throw it away. So not only does this look like a chicken to you, it also looks like the current council redistricting plan. That's why I brought it up. all over the place, and it's all terribly messed up. All right. All right, so let me talk for a few minutes, which is what I was supposed to do, about the current state of redistricting. After Dr. Busey gave that wonderful presentation on how we got here and how we got to the 40 members. So as of right now, we have 40 members in the Metro Council. But the state legislature decided to pass a bill, and we can talk about why they did it, retaliation, they just don't like us, other things going on, efficiency, even though, as Dr. Busey said, and I agree with her, that we have done a tremendous amount of great things in our wonderful city over the years, and we have learned to live with 40 members. Public Chapter 21, signed by Governor Lee in record time, decreases metropolitan governments to 20 or less individuals. And so no metropolitan government on the enactment of this bill can have 20 members, can have any more than 20 members. Doesn't have to have 20 members, it can be less than that, but in the implementation of this law, metropolitan governments like us can have no more than 20 people in that government. Now, they said it applied across the board. There are only 3 metropolitan governments in Tennessee. Anybody know what those other 2 are? Is that council members? Trousdale County and Moore County, all right? So one of those had 20 members, so that's why they kept it at 20. So in the implementation of this thing, this is requiring this body, this is the only metropolitan body impacted, to decrease the size of our council members from 40 down to 20 or less. And they were nice enough to let us choose what the number should be and how it would be implemented, which is really kind of impossible. Here are the other requirements that you need to know. Okay, so here comes this bill, passed in record time, and is directing us that we got to get our act together and get that number down to 20 or less, figure out what it is, and then redraw district lines within a certain amount of time. Oh, and by the way, our election is in August, and petitions could be picked up 2 weeks ago. All right. They instructed our planning commission to have a plan with district lines that they vote on and that they would approve by next Saturday, a week from today, okay, August the 8th. Could fudge a little bit, maybe say August the 10th. I'm sorry, April. April, next week, April the 8th. Maybe because it's on a Saturday, they give us until April the 10th, but the Planning Commission has to meet. They're meeting this Thursday to approve district lines. The council, the Metro Council, has to do all this. They have to figure out what the number is going to be, and then they have to approve the district lines no later than May the 1st. Okay. If we don't get this stuff done by May the 1st, if we don't do this at the request of the demand of the state legislature by May the 1st, then the council members that are, some of them sitting here today, get to serve an extra year. Okay, so they go from 4 years to 5 years, and then we would have our election next August, not this August, next August. What does that mean? Tremendous confusion for people running for office. You don't know when to pick up the petitions. You don't know what district you may be running for. You don't know where your people who are having to sign to say that you can run. You don't know where they're supposed to be. District 1 now, which is in the northwest part of Nashville, could turn into the southeast part of Nashville. We don't know any of this stuff. And we've got an election coming up in 4 months. It's almost impossible to do. You can probably do it, but it's being rushed. And in something like this, you make mistakes when you rush, and you don't have a chance for real good community involvement. And you're just pushing because somebody else pushed you to do it, okay? Which is what has happened here. All right. Now, so remember, you've got a couple of dates here. May the 1st is one. Remember that the council has to if the council doesn't act by May the 1st, it's an automatic trigger of an extra year for the council, and then the elections will be next August. Just remember that because it comes into play on something else. All right. What are we looking at in terms of really rushing through? We had a meeting, special meeting on March the 22nd, and the council deferred, but we actually have two sets of maps that you may have been looking at across the board. One is a 15 and 5, which is 15 council districts and 5 at large, and one is a 17 and 3, that is 17 council districts and 3 at larges. They had public meetings this week, and I seriously doubt that most people really paid any attention to them. You may have gone. We had other things that we were much more concerned about. You know, when you start thinking about drawing lines and other stuff, it falls in comparison with what this city has been through this week. So anyway, those lines you can take a look at. 17-3, 15 and 5. We've also had 20 suggested, just 20 council districts, no at-larges. We had a 16 and 4, which means 16 council districts, and then 4 super districts, which would mean you take 16 districts and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then somebody would run from those 4 districts as a super. I think they would have to wear a cape, but it would be a super delegate. All right. I like that. I'm going to do that. Okay. So, and then, who knows what else? Today we were talking, we said, well, maybe it should be like 16 and a half, and then 1 3/4 person, and you know, there's all kinds of things you can go with this. All right, well, we're trying to figure all this stuff out, and the Planning Commission is trying to figure this out, and they're having public meetings to try to get input in a time where, again, I'm not sure if anybody, you know, we've got other things on our minds. There is because the city has now sued the state, we have a court hearing on April the 4th, this coming Tuesday. Wally Dietz, who is our Metro Legal Director, is suing the state and asking for an injunction so we can just slow everything down. Okay? It's a special panel of 3 judges that the Supreme Court picked based upon a law that was passed by the state legislature. But we hope that they understand what is going on, that you can't do stuff like this. First of all, we don't want any of this. You know, I would say, let's just make one argument. I grew up with the idea that this country is run by we the people, not by the Tennessee state legislature. We the people. I saw Senator Jeff Yarbrough has come in, and he's part of that. He made some fantastic arguments trying to protect us. But I grew up in a household that understood what a democracy, I thought what a democracy was, and that is the people decide. And if you listen to what Dr. Busey said, we decided 60 years ago what we wanted. We decided, we voted in 2015, and this is what we want, and other people shouldn't be coming in and telling us that we don't like the way our government runs, and that they're going to take it away from us. Okay? It's our government, we decide. If you all and the rest of the people in Davidson County said, you know what, we are too big, we want 20, that's what we want, then that's okay, because we, the people, decided. But if you want 40, it's up to us, we decide. Nobody should be telling us what our government should look like. Okay? All right. All right, just a couple of other things. This is very complicated, and I could be up here for hours trying to explain all the intricacies of this. But we have a hearing on April the 4th. We'll see what happens at that. We're asking for an injunction to stop the whole thing. They could put it under advisement. They could not give us the injunction. The Supreme Court can reach down and grab the case. They can do stuff with the injunctions. They can decide the case. What a mess, okay? And this all has to be done by May the 1st, and the hearing's on April the 4th. On that same day, Metro Council is also meeting. We have a meeting that night. We have a bunch of things on our agenda, a lot of zoning bills. The stadium bill is on that agenda, and we have a public hearing, for anybody who wants to come talk to us about this, about redistricting. We have a resolution pending to pick at 17 and 3, but we have amendments that can come on. Not sure what the council wants to do. I think we do want to hear from people. And then we'll maybe have some information from the court. They could rule directly in the morning and let us know what we've got. So this is a fluid thing. It keeps changing and we just don't know, but we're trying to keep up with it. I will give kudos to a lot of people, Metro Legal, the city council. Everybody is trying to hold this thing together. The planning department has been working with us. The election commission, everybody is on this fast track of trying to figure out something that should have not been messed with, okay? Okay, so I said the council meeting's on April the 4th. Let me add one last thing to this, which is really, really screwy. Injunction, no injunction, we'll see what happens there. May 1st, we do something, we don't do something by then. If the Supreme Court, or if anybody else doesn't give us an injunction, but just takes the whole thing under advisement, and we're all floating out there, and it looks like we're gonna have council members stay for a 5th year. One of the biggest arguments that we have in this case, which has been played out in the paper to some extent, is that our Metro Legal Director has said we can't have a 5th year. That's in violation of the Tennessee Constitution. There's a provision in the Constitution that says that counties pick legislative bodies and their members can only serve 4 years. The legislature has stepped in and said, well, if you can't get this done, you can have a 5th year. Well, that is in violation of the Tennessee Constitution. And if we get in this situation where we're just pending, waiting for courts to rule, and we enter into a 5th year, then we are very, very nervous that we would have a year full of our Metro Legal Director saying, you can't meet and you can't take action. Okay, so we're hoping that doesn't happen. We are trying to protect against that because that means for a year, our body really is suspect if we take action, which means that we can't pass contracts, we can't pass grants, we can't pass zoning bills. Some people may like. We can't pass we can't do development. We can't pass the city budget. The mayor can. One of the new mayors can, but we don't have any say in it. That's not how you run a city. I don't think that's how a state directs how to run a city. It puts the city's economic flow. We are doing very, very well at risk. It puts a lot of things at our city at risk. And I'm for good government. I'm for doing, you may not like some of the stuff we do or we do as individuals or whatever, but we have responsibilities. We run for office. We'll run for office because they want to be a part of running a good, solid, stable government. And that's what keeps us going. And it's not easy. And we have lots of things that happen and lots of bad things that happen. And, and this week has shown by far what can happen. But our jobs are to keep our government going. And this is terrible. We have a nightmare situation, and then with what's happened to us this week, and we've got stuff being thrown at us that really didn't need to happen, and we've got to figure it out. That, in a very high level, brings to you kind of what's going on, okay? And I hope I covered it, not in too long of a situation. It's a mess. Keep an eye on the news, the paper, watch us, contact your council members, watch us on Tuesday night. Come down on Tuesday night to come to the public hearing. Love to have your information. But this is happening in very much real time. If we get that injunction, then we can take a breath. And, I think we could all take a breath right now. I think we could use that. Thank you very much.
Okay, I need to set this up right. Metro is turning 60, not Vice Mayor Schulman. Okay? And as you know, one of our critical partners in the work that we do, especially in creating age-friendly communities, which just doesn't mean people who are 60 over, it means all ages. We want to be friendly for all ages in our neighborhoods. is the AARP of Tennessee. And they are, yeah, that's okay. And I'm very pleased to introduce to you Mia McNeil, who is the state director of AARP of Tennessee, who is going to present, well, I'll let her tell you what it is. Come on up, Mia.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Jim. I appreciate it. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Mia McNeil. I'm the state director for AARP Tennessee, and I will echo the sentiments of Vice Mayor Shulman on behalf of AARP Tennessee. Let's be a little kinder, let's love one another. And so today, we're showing a little love to the city of Nashville on your 60th birthday. Who would have thought 60 years, even 20 years ago, that Nashville would act in a role of disrupting aging? They have been around for a while and have even recently joined our age-friendly network to make sure that people are able to age in place where they live. So on behalf of our 56,000 members in Metro Nashville, we would like to present Vice Mayor Shulman with the official AARP card for the city of Nashville.
We'll get discounts?
You know, we have excellent discounts.
I bet you do. You can talk about it.
I won't be talking about the discounts, but what I will tell you is that all of us have an opportunity to be a part of an excellent organization like AARP. So we look forward to working, of course, with Neighbor to Neighbor also in the future, but definitely with Metro Nashville. So thank you so much.
Thank you. On behalf of the city and the county, on behalf of the metropolitan government of Nashville and Davidson County, I accept this.
We're running just a few minutes behind, and I apologize, but we will have the full four guaranteed. I wanted to take a moment and just recognize in the audience as part of our schedule. If you this year, in the last year, have participated in one of our training programs and one of our networking programs, would you stand up, please? We really want to encourage you to participate. And recently, Thomas Dodson went through the Emerging Neighborhood Leaders Academy, which starts on April the 12th. And he just wanted to say like 2 minutes about that program and what it did for him. Thomas?
I won't even go too fast. Thank you, guys. Good afternoon, and I know you want to get to the mayoral form. We all do, so we're very interested. By the way, my vote right now goes to the key lime pie. Delicious, delicious. The Emerging Neighborhood Leaders Academy was fantastic. As someone who is not born and raised in Nashville, I learned so much. Jim did a fantastic job of setting the stage of why we have this metro government. We learned so much today, but Jim does a deep dive under the hood. We learned about the structure of metro government. Sarika, say hi. Was it awesome?
It was awesome.
It was awesome. So you guys sign up for it, go to our website, talk to me, talk to Jim. We'd love to talk to you more about the program. It starts in April, Emerging Neighborhood Leaders Academy. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Example? Time? He's really good at the time.
Fine, we've got plenty of it.
And now, once again, I'm going to be joined on the stage with our board chair, Lisa Holler, to talk about the True Neighbor Award.
Thank you, Jim. Vice Mayor Shulman, I received my AARP card quite a while ago, so thank you to the AARP. Okay. Well, this is one of the really poignant times of our day together, when we come here to pay honor to neighbors. You know, everyone here in this room has a neighbor and is a neighbor. And several years ago, in 2018, our organization thought it would be time to recognize and honor the best neighbor in Davidson County as nominated and voted upon by an esteemed group of people. So in 2018, we started the True Neighbor Award in honor of a gentleman whose real name was Frank True. And Mr. True was a lifelong resident of the, am I saying it right, Jim? Moncoya, thank you, Hills neighborhood. And he was a tireless advocate for his neighborhood. Frank generously contributed his time, his talents, and gifts to improve the quality of life for his neighbors and all of Nashville residents. The True Neighbor Award is presented to an individual who exemplifies similar characteristics.
This award honors local residents who have demonstrated exceptional leadership for a period of no less than 5 years, with a commitment to building, improving, and/or maintaining the quality of life in their neighborhood. Past recipients included Sedora Johnson, Ellen Britton, and Ingrid Campbell. We're very pleased to introduce the finalists for 2023, and as your name is called, would you please stand so we can appreciate you for your work.
Okay, drum roll. There we go. Thank you. The finalists for 2023 True Neighbor Award: Jan Bushing. Jan?
Gina Coleman.
Joyce George.
And Ben Shoemaker. Thank you. Please be seated. To introduce this year's recipient, we will be joined on stage by Tom Cash, Metro Council Member for District 18.
All right, thanks. As Vice Mayor Shulman said, it's been a rough week, and even tumultuous several weeks. But now, today, it is my pleasure to tell you all about and honor Jan Bushing, who is the winner of the 2023 Award. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Jan. I've gotten notes to keep it short, to keep myself on task. Jan founded in 1975 the Hillsborough West End Neighborhood Association. And in the mid-70s, it was a difficult time for our urban neighborhoods. I think terms like urban decay and response, urban renewal were big terms. Like the suburbs had been the popular thing for the decade or two before that, and many urban neighborhoods weren't getting the attention that they needed or deserved. And so she was an original founder of the Hillsborough West End neighborhood, which at the time, I don't know if it still is, was one of the largest neighborhood associations in Nashville. She not only built from the ground up, and was its first president, not only built this neighborhood association from the ground up, but quickly started working with other neighborhoods, especially other urban neighborhoods, to improve things and strengthen the voice of neighborhoods. They worked to revitalize the city. Hillsborough West End had kind of a rough relationship with Vanderbilt in the decade before, and she and others worked for decades to improve that relationship and get Vanderbilt to invest in the neighborhood and help make loans for housing nearby attractive and economical for their employees, and many other things like that, to beautify the neighborhood, like physically and economically. And so I worked with her on the Hillsborough West End Neighborhood Association, which I joined about almost 20 years ago. She founded in '75 and is still a board member, so almost coming up on 50 years in service to the neighborhood, to that neighborhood, and to all neighborhoods in Nashville. And just real quick, some other amazing things that she's done. She, like me, was a career educator and worked for the State Department of Tennessee as the Director of School-Based Services. She and I always love to talk about, I was a high school teacher and she was more over younger kids, but we always like to talk about education. Two things that she did, kind of bookmark some of this service. In 1980, Hillsborough West End, you all may know that Hillsborough West End, our symbol is a dragon because we have a dragon, sea serpent dragon, at Fannie Mae's Park. And she was instrumental in getting that built and working with the Pedro Silva, the artist, in 1980. And then about 5 years ago, she was instrumental. It had fallen into disrepair. And she was instrumental in not only raising a good amount of donations to be able to afford to renovate it, but also like on a pretty daily basis for a couple of months, worked putting the tiles back on, taking them off and putting them back on so it looked better. And that was another one of the amazing things that she did. She was a leader and not afraid to do on the ground dirty work to make the neighborhood better. So I really am honored to tell you all about her and share how amazing she is. She unfortunately is not well health-wise, and her amazing husband, who's always by her side, is here to accept the award on her behalf. Stuart Bushing. Also, I do want to mention that she served the state as a state representative for a couple of years in the '80s, and we certainly wish she were still there. Stuart. Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. I very seldom attempt to speak for her. She's very capable on her own. But if she were here, she would thank Neighbor to Neighbor very much for this recognition. And she would tell you that she is certainly thankful to every neighborhood in our city. Thank you very much.
We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to start the forum. If the candidates would like to come forward, you're welcome to come forward.